delighted to welcome you to this session of the 15th Jaipur Literature Festival, protected by Dettol Banega Swasth India. It is our pleasure to present today Zada Zadati, A Dirge for the Damned, Vishwas Patil in conversation with Archana Mirajkar. Vishwas Patil's novel Zada Zadati is based on the plight of people displaced by the construction of a large dam. It chronicles the strife between the residents of Jambulwadi, the indifferent administration, and the greedy proponents of development. Written in a fluid and picturesque style, the novel explores the right of indigenous people and the human cost of development. In conversation with Archana Mirajkar. Vishwas Patil. Vishwas Patil is an eminent novelist in Marathi literature. He has written 30 novels on many realistic issues and adversities of the masses. At the age of 32, Patil became the youngest recipient of the coveted Sahitya Akademi Award for his novel Zada Zadati, A Dirge for the Damned. He has also been awarded the Indira Goswami National Award and Priyadarshini National Award for Literature. The author of critically acclaimed books like Not Gone with the Wind, Anna Bahu, The Line of Dalit Literature, Patil's famous play, The Battlefield of Panipat, was directed by Vaman Kendre and performed in India and the United States of America. Archana Mirajkar. Archana Mirajkar is an author who writes in English and Marathi. Her latest book, Swam Siddha, tells the story of rebellious women from the Mahabharata. Mirajkar hosts a YouTube series called Granth Yatra that showcases the 100 best books in Marathi literature. She has also worked as a senior media and communication officer at a foreign mission in Delhi. Please feel free to send in your comments by typing them in the comment section. Do follow our social media handles to get notifications on the upcoming sessions. Please tweet using hashtag Jaipur Literature Festival 2022 and tag @JaipurLitFest. Ladies and gentlemen, Zada Zadati, A Dirge for the Damned, Vishwas Patil in conversation with Archana Mirajkar. Archana, over to you.
Thank you for this opportunity to be in conversation with one of the most popular and critically acclaimed writers from Maharashtra, Mr. Vishwas Patil. Welcome, Mr. Patil, to this session for the Jaipur Literature Festival. Today, we will be talking about your book, Zada Zadati, A Dirge for the Damned. This is a story of villagers of Jambuli, a hamlet nestled in the rich environs of mountains on the banks of Vagzai River. Now, the government plans to build a huge dam on this river, and several villages like Jambuli will be submerged. The villagers here are simple, honest people whose lifestyle is in harmony with the nature. When their village and fields are razed down with bulldozers to make way for the construction of the dam, the saga of injustice begins. The rehabilitation of the villagers is marred with obstacles, exploitation, and denial of their rights. The novel received Sahitya Akademi Award in 1992. So let me start by asking you, Mr. Patil, when and how did you conceptualize this novel?
My childhood, I spent on the river bank of Varna, a very tiny, small river in Sahyadri mountain. And my hamlet's name is Nerle. In childhood, in nearby area on the same river, one Chandoli dam project was under construction. And as a child, I was observing from my early days the construction of dam just 10-15 kilometers away from my village. And I was coming across with those people and I seen their misery. Later on, I was appointed as a district resettlement officer in Pune district, where I was looking after 20 dam affected people. The dams were small, major, and medium. And even 30 years back, around 20,000 PAPs, that is project affect people, were living in Pune district. And there I was dealing with them from sunrise to sunset. Every time and again I was coming across with them. And being a villager, I like to indulge, I like to move with them. I was visiting their shanties, to jungle paths. I was fishing with them. I was hunting with them. Such a way, I was very close to them. During my college days, I went through the great novels like Grapes of Wrath of Steinbeck, then The Good Earth by Pearl Buck, Maila Anchal, Panishwarnath Renus, and Premchand's Godan. So also The Bridge on the River Drina, one Hungarian novel. So a sort of a big saga through the reading of literature was in my mind, and I was looking towards those people. At the same time, in an institution like Yashoda, that is Yashwantrao Chavan Institute of Administration in Pune, there were some lectures delivered by great Sundarlal Bahuguna, Medha Patkar, Baba Adao, and other expertise on the dam. So I watched their life, I penned down their life, I criticized the government very harshly and heavily. I criticized the government rules and the government machinery and attitude. And naturally, there was a proposal sent to the chief minister for suspending me from the government job. But one fine morning, the Sahitya Academy Award was declared, and the news was everywhere, and that award saved my life and my career. So, such a way, from my early childhood to my probation period and my early days in the government, I conceived this novel and I penned down it on the paper.
That's wonderful, because this is a direct result of your first-hand experience living and working with displaced people. So tell me, Mr. Patil, has it's been 30 years since this novel was published. So do you think the reality has changed in any way during these years? So have we as a nation evolved into a more responsible, conscientious entity while we continue our pursuit of progress? For example, are our laws more foolproof, or is their implementation more humane today? What do you think about this?
Yes, after writing this novel, 3 decades have passed, and I don't think much change is there in government machinery and my government people. I should admit and I should note that there previously there were no laws, no rules about compensation, about rehabilitation. In Maharashtra, especially, first time in India in 1976, this act of rehabilitation was enacted in 1976. And it happened with one incident. Our great leader, Y.B. Chavan, the central minister, was on the tour of a dam site. And there was an inauguration of that dam. That time, one 70, 80-year-old hasty woman, she pulled the puja thali and threw away. That time, Yashwantrao Chavan, he realized the pain and sorrow of the people, and he insisted on the state government of Maharashtra that you should frame such separate law. And that was first enactment. I think in last few years, there is a central act also, but there are many follies in the act, and government has not changed its inhuman approach. Many times, what happens is that my colleagues they put question to me that why you are doing a torch in the hands of the people, because on many dam sites people gather in large number, they visit the officer and they put one question only, that have you gone through Chhada Jharti, a dirge for the damned? Have you read the plight of the people? Go through it and then come and bulldozer us. So that sort of answer is there. Therefore, my colleagues do cry that you are giving a mashal, torch, in the hand of the people. But I feel this is not a mashal torch. It is a great reward for me for understanding their problems.
And this incident of disruption of the inaugural function by an old woman, you capture it so beautifully in this novel. But we must understand that, the conflict in this novel is not between development and protection of the environment. The conflict is between the rights of the indigenous people, the rights of the displaced people, and an insensitive system that exploits them. So you have been successful in making this very clear through characters like the school teacher Khair Mode Guruji. How has this novel helped to shape the debate that often accompanies implementation of such large projects or large developmental projects in India, often at the cost of the rights of the indigenous people?
Yeah. The shaping of my novel is done by my characters, who I came across in my bureaucratic life and while wandering in Maharashtra. This Guruji, that is Khair Mode Guruji, the school teacher, Dalit school teacher, he says and he cries before the machinery that please don't go for big and major dams. Please have a smaller dams. So for smaller dams, there won't be any question of displacement, compensation. There won't be big sadness to the majority of people. But we are not understanding. In India, the approach is that the larger the dam, larger benefit, larger fruits, that kind of story is there. But these people who came across to me, they taught me the true nature of the compensation and the true nature of displacement. Once in a Mantralaya, that is State Secretariat, I was attending one case before minister, the cabinet minister. The compensation issue was there. And I saw a man in 70 who was in shabby coat and dhoti, very ordinary man, gray haired. And all of a sudden he stood up and he in a way threatened to the minister that, sir, I am paying visit to your office for last 20 years. I'm not getting nyay, I'm not getting justice. If we are going to continue such a way, then I will go down, I will purchase 3-liter kerosene, I will pour it on State Secretariat and on myself, and I will immolate myself along with the Secretariat. So I was wonderstruck how such a common man, such an ordinary old man, such a big strength, where he is from. And I got, then I searched that he was living by the riverside Krishna, and his Dalit Basti was being washed away every year due to the river water. And still the people, the Dalits were fighting. Every year they were removing their basti, they were going towards jungle. And when this flood was receding, again they were coming. So there was no end to the misery, and I got my character, Khair Mode Guruji, there. Khair is one jungle tree. Khair is a very tough to cut. So he stood like a rock before the machinery. Such characters I got there, and those characters shaped this novel. Otherwise, during beginning or during those days, I was not prepared with the plot, good characters, framing of characters, then 3-act system and all that.
Very wonderful. You have come across these people actually in flesh and blood. So moving on, Zara Zardi is a novel that kind of stuns the readers. The scale of its tragedy is just colossal. It's not the tragedy of just one individual or one family or even just one village. It is the tragedy that is repeated at several places over several decades, perhaps across the world. You bring out this depth of tragedy through several poignant incidents, like the struggle for the last rites of Subhanji, or the officers asking the old widowed Banubai, what is the proof that you are alive? Or Shivram dying under the wheels of the bulldozer. These are just shocking incidents. Yet the novel does not turn melodramatic at any point. How do you maintain such a restrained yet convincing writing style?
You have rightly pointed out that this tragedy or this kahani, this tale is not of one family or one village, but more than 13, 14 small hamlets on the river bank of Bagzai. The story is of these commoners. They are in hundreds, and this is a big thing. And I should tell that you spoke about Subhanji's death, carrying of his dead body for 22 kilometers. In one meeting, I heard such a story that in such a way, this body, dead body, was carried through thick jungle, and how the people faced that trauma. Then, out of eagerness, I took some youngsters, and along with those villagers, in those days, I walked over 22 kilometers in a day, and I visited this Subhanji's old mother and his children, and I enliven this character. You spoke about Shivram. Shivram is also the same way. He was killed. He was crushed under bulldozer. I have not seen while he was being crushed. But when I got the news, I paid visit to district headquarters, and I saw his mutated body in a government hospital, and his robe also. So also my a sort of hero Haibati, how the register, his attention register was robbed and it was stolen, and he was decided as a misfit for the government service. So I think these people, their story was a sort of the river of sorrow, and there was no need to make it melodramatic because their life was super dramatic, full of tragedy, full of agony, full of difficulties. And I have seen those people with flesh and blood, with their costumes, with their rotten costumes, I will say, with the atmosphere, with those heels, that only I painted down. So there was no question of making melodramatic. For making melodramatic, you will have to put extra energies from your imagination. But reality was such a severe, such a great. There was no need to flew in imagination. And because of this reality, it didn't go for melodrama.
That's just a testimony to the perceptiveness of your mind, I would say, as an author. But talking about your style, this novel has been brilliantly translated into English by Kirti Ramchandra. And I remember reading somewhere that the noted Assamese author, the late Indira Goswami, was greatly impressed by it. So can you tell us more about her reaction to the book?
Yes, this novel was translated in Assamese. The name was given Bidirna Bagzai. That is Bidirna Bagzai, the river. And it was first published in Assamese, and it went in many editions there also. And people showed me newspaper cuttings also, that while on the construction side, the project affected people showed this novel Bidirna Bagzai to the officers, and they were seeking some sort of relief. This novel was luckily got inaugurated with the hands of Indira Goswami, and she was much impressed. She was so impressed that she went twice this novel, and she asked, she told me that she is making a trip to the Maharashtra, and she wished to visit some places where major incidents like the killing of Haibati happened. The Haibati was murdered near one Pehe Gauthan near Pandharpur city, and she was eager to visit such a 4, 5 sites and 5, 6 dams along with me. It was finalized, but unfortunately, due to her health and early death, it didn't materialize. But I'm lucky that 2 years back, I got Indira Goswami National Award from the people of Assam, and I feel that it is a sort of ashirwad from the great authoress of India to me, like Indira Goswami.
That's very true what you say. So I was just wondering, like this novel juxtaposes two different worlds against each other. So one world is made of extremely hardworking and good-natured people like Kushapa, like Gunvanta, Avdai, or Subhanji, while the other world is made of cunning people like Dattu Sarpanch, Lala Zadhav, and Sarjay Rao. And the former represents the people who are closely associated with environment, with earth, and their livelihoods are such that they do not exploit nature. But the latter want to extract as much profit from nature as possible without caring for its consequences. So, do you think there is a correlation between man's greed and his dissociation from nature?
I feel that greed or sloth is a common factor in all communities, and I should tell that when the dam is under construction, the people are eager for the water, or the people are eager for some colonies, big area of factories and all that. Initially, they are very interested. They will cry they will give slogans that we are brothers. These PAPs are our brothers, but they forget afterwards. I have seen while working that 2, 3 relatives of very powerful ministers, they were trying to take back the land which was offered to these people 30, 20 years back, and they were becoming inhuman. They were forgetting these people. uh, there are two parts. This is benefited area and affected area. I can understand the changing attitude of benefited area, but from affected area also, I noticed that the people, Lala Jadhav, Shingadi the MP, or the two Sarpanch, such people were rogues. They were subsisting on the blood and flesh of their own people. I noticed in government corridors near collector office and tahsil office compounds, these people are regular, they are regularly coming for some sort of advantage, some grant, some compensation, stealing, robbing other people. It is their everyday job. So it happens in affected areas also. They are making naked their own people. That is the point.
Very true. Very true. We talked about some of the characters in this novel, but I think there are three striking characters which I found very impressive in this novel. So one is Kushapa, then there is Khairmode Master and Avdai. So they're exceptional for their indomitable spirit. Kushapa has a kind of royal lineage. He owns more than 100 acres of land, lives in a large house, and has an equally kind of large heart. He's an extremely hardworking farmer, a generous and faithful friend, and a skilled hunter, so much so that he even kills a tiger single handed. Similarly, Avdai, she doesn't lose heart even when she faces one calamity after other. She loses her fertile land, her husband commits suicide, and her son is killed before her eyes. And yet, she gathers courage to continue the fight for justice. And Khair Modi Guruji, as you said earlier, he leads the struggle from the front and for justice with great fortitude and persistence. Despite big tragedies in his personal life, he never wavers from his principles. So, what were your inspirations behind these characters?
Inspiration means I have seen those people many times, heard about them also. This Kusha Raja was famous in that region as a shepherd king. He was having 500, 600 lands, and he was living like a king, like a Raja on in the hills. But as I told you that the land being surveyed in two sections as a benefited area and affected area. But affected area is also limited. Beyond that affected area, there is a certain line, and up hills are there, up mountains are there. They are not taken for the compensation or any other alternative, offering them a piece of land or a piece for their constructing the house. So Kusha Raja was a beyond line, and he was marginalized because of the big dam in hilly area. He was living there, and all alone he became a mad. Though he was a Raja, though he was living upper side, his fertile land was his fertile land went in submergence of the big dam. So there was a question of the raising money for the dowry of his daughter. I have read many good or bad stories about raising the money for the marriage of daughter by the fathers. I came across one father who tried to rob the bank with Dhaka. But I came across this Kusha Raja when I was visiting this village early in the morning. There was one old man, he was basking in front of a temple. My Patwari, the village officer, showed me the half-naked man. On his back, I saw some sorts of claws, nakuns there. And my Patwari told me that this is the old man who fought with a living wild tiger. When he heard that tiger's skin is being, he can sell the tiger's skin for 30,000 rupees. He became mad, and he was chasing tiger. Finally, he fought with the tiger. He skinned the skin, but he was robbed in a market of Pune. So such a epic fight gave the strength to my character. I told about my first meeting with Khair Modi Master. He was fighting for the Dalits, and he was fighting for the whole village. My hero must be perhaps the first hero who was a Dalit, but he was a leader of the whole community in Maharashtra. And he was impressed in his private life with Gandhian philosophy and philosophy of Dr. Ambedkar. So also Audai. I have seen the old time, the joint family. In every family, there was a mother or a grandmother who was interested to everybody was in the mother, like Audai, was interested for her family, the development of family, and the union of family. So while writing this, penning down Audai, I was seeing my own mother. I was experiencing my happenings with my grandmother, with my aunts, and such kind of good old fisty ladies were there. On that various characters, I have created this another character, Audai, though her son was killed. She understood herself that she is not mother of a murdered Haibati, but she is a mother of whole town. She is a mother of whole region. Therefore, she wipes her tears and she runs for the help of the whole village.
Very true. And as impressive as these characters are, even the nature in your novel is so impressive. And throughout the novel, you make excellent use of symbolism. So, for instance, River Vagzai symbolizes the natural flow of life of the villagers of Zamri. And when the river is dammed, the life of the villagers is also stagnated. Their difficulties swell like the waters of the dam. Or the mountains of Baru and Bapu, they symbolize the love between the brothers Haibati and Gunvanta. There are many such examples. How do you think this symbolism enhances the effectiveness of otherwise a very realistic novel?
You see, symbolism is the inseparable part of their life. I have lived in villages, I came from the villages, and always we noticed good proverbs, good sayings, good poems, the poems sung by my mother. So this proverbial and good support I got from the villages. This Balu and Bapu, I imagined Balu Bapu as two mountain peaks, and in under heavy rains, under heavy monsoon, there is a sound of rain water and the sound of wind. I conceived that wind, roaring wind, the sound, as if the Balu is calling to his brother Bapu, who is across the river, and Bapu is calling to the Balu. In a way, I put the two pictures of real brothers, Gunvanta and Haibati. Gunvanta lives in a hilly area, affected area, and Haibati lives in a benefited area. So how those brothers were separated and how they were calling and crying in the name of one another. In Maharashtra, we have seen many hills named after Navra Navrisa Dongar, the mountain of bride and mountain of bridegroom. In a way, this symbolism is part of our rural life. I have listened the songs from my mother. Sasaracha wat kuchu kuchu kat. The road to my in-law's home is strewn with thorns. The orchards are drowned. Dam water rules the land. Rana budali ghana dat ugavala dharanat. And finally, Uravari dharanaga vai rochacha marana means with the dam on our chest, we die every day. So those songs were from these people, from the mouth of these people, from the area, and automatically, naturally, like a flowing brook, I got those proverbs, through those idioms and those songs, and I strewn those things in my novel as a part of the characters.
Which meshed so beautifully, that intermingling of, the real traditions as well as this modern calamity that the villagers have to face. They mesh so beautifully in the novel. So one of the final questions I would like to ask you is about the message in the novel. So except for an occasional occurrence, such as the actions of the morally upright collector, Mr. Deshmukh, or Kushapa suddenly receiving good money for the forgotten piece of his land, the novel basically is a tapestry of extreme injustice, denial, and frustration. The reader progresses from one state of desperation to another and is left feeling restless even at the end. So, was it your intention to sting the conscience of the reader and make him contemplate about the fate of the displaced? But at the same time, to what extent did you wish to give out a message of hope at the same time through characters like Avdai or Khairmode Master?
I have not portrayed the sadness or grief purposely. It is true that novel is full with extreme injustice and denial and frustration, and only solace in the novel is the solace from the two good characters, one young sturdy collector, Mr. Deshmukh, and another is deputy collector, Mr. Pawar. These two characters are positive and they offer some sort of justice to them. But otherwise, these people accept that it is in their fate, in their life, in their destiny, such kind of living and all that. I recollect one incident as a DRO when I joined in the office. It was evening, and all of a sudden, the group of these PAPs, villagers, came dashingly my door. They entered in my door without appointment. And being an officer, I was angry, and I retorted. I told them, how you dare to come inside my cabin in such a way. That time there was a person, old person, he must be above 75, having a stick. He was a trembling, and that trembling Azoba, he told me that, look, boy, we are in urgency. We are lambs trapped in the smoldering fire. Such a lambs, they don't ask permission of anybody. They try to save their life. And we are in such an urgency. That's why we are coming inside without your permissions and all that. So I think the very life, the sadness is a part, inseparable part. It is heart of the character. It is the heart of the novel. And the original name, A Dirge of the Damned, its original name is a Jhada Jharti. I have taken this word from the great work of Saint Ganeshwar, from his Ganeshwari, and he used this word Jhada Jharti. Jhad means a tree. Tree is a symbol of great grief, sadness, and Jharti means paying for something. These people consider themselves that they are like trees, and they are suffering. They have committed some injustice or some pap in other life, and in this life they are paying for it. And such a way they are facing the strongest calamities and adversities in the life, but at the same time they are not yielding. They are asking for their rights. They are unfurling their flags for justice, and that is the stream of the narration, the true heart of my story, my novel.
Very true. This novel has really awakened the people, I would say, the readers. It has won many awards and been translated into so many languages. But just before we conclude, tell us, Mr. Patil, what was the best reaction that you ever received for this book?
Best reaction is that I have painted, you will recollect that I have painted a very good episode of the wife of Hebati delivers a boy. And it was under heavy shower, and even her bed was, her bed was in rising water, and it was a floating like a log and all that. I received one letter from Bid district from such a family. The person was asking me that, sir, I haven't read anywhere that you have visited my Bid district. You have not visitor of this region, but how come nobody told you the story of my life, story of my wife's life, her pathetic delivery, and how you narrated and how you put word by word the real story of our family. I think such kind of a real reaction is a good award and a good appreciation for my writing.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Patil. It was a wonderful experience to talk with you. A great pleasure to share notes with you on the book, which is wonderful and liked by so many people. I hope our readers would also get inspired to read it and would enjoy this session. Thank you.
Thank you. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Vishwas and Archana, for this brilliant conversation. And thank you all for watching and being such a great audience. Please stay logged on to continue to watch with us a series of exciting sessions featuring a stellar list of speakers that have been specially curated for you. Stay tuned for the next session.